Hi, I'm Dr. Jared Gruhl with Gruhl Health Solutions, and we have a fabulous, short, quick little video. We have Heather Broughton, who is our healthy cooking expert. I love having Heather as a resource because she has really brilliantly put together so many different recipes for creating really delicious, quick, fast, and most importantly, delicious foods of all kinds, so snacks, meals, everything like that. So coming up on the holidays, we thought we would give an example of one of these recipes. So she's going to show us how she's going to transform all of these simple ingredients into these delicious morsels right here. So take it away, Heather.
All right, guys, so we are going to make this delicious raw fudge, and I'm going to show you how very simple this can be. So really nice, simple whole food ingredients. You can get all of them in the bulk department at your natural food store. We're going to start off with some raw walnuts. These have been soaked and they've been drained, and that's actually really important in the recipe because it makes them soft and creamy. And then we've got medjool dates. They're a really sweet, juicy date, and you're going to need to pit those and chop them roughly. Our next ingredient is raw cacao. This is like a raw form of chocolate, and it's much more nutrient dense than just like the baking cocoa that you might normally have. We've got some melted coconut oil here. You do want to get that melted in advance. And then some cherries. So some nice, just roughly chopped tart cherries. And a food processor. That's all you need. So we're going to get started.
Perfect. And I don't know if you caught that, but these are actually raw. So there's no oven needed, there's no cooking. It's all going to be really fresh. All the enzymes will be really activated, super delicious, and really, really good for you.
We've got 1 cup of walnuts going into the food processor right now. And we're going to go ahead and get the dates in there as well. And this is also 1 cup. You don't have to be super particular on this recipe either. Don't worry about it being a perfectly level cup. Just do some rough measurement. And we're just going to start with those 2 ingredients first. And what we're going to do, if you haven't used food processor before, is you're going to start with just pulsing. We just kind of want to get those moving together and just kind of break them up a little bit. Nice and loud. So what we're looking for here is to get the dates and the walnuts really nice and incorporated before we start to get the other ingredients in there. So I'm going to run it just a little bit more. And go ahead and stop every so often and scrape down the sides of your food processor. This is just going to make sure all of our ingredients are nice and evenly incorporated here, because we want an ultimate finished product of a really nice, creamy, smooth finish in the fudge. So we're going to run this a little bit more. So at this stage, it's going to start to sort of form into like little clumps as it's moving around. That's perfect. That's when you want to stop. And then we're going to get everything else in there. So we've got our raw cocoa. We're getting that in there. We've got 1/4 cup of our raw cacao going in, and then we're going to pour in this 2 teaspoons of melted coconut oil. That's going to make it really nice and rich, and those healthy fats in that coconut oil is going to also be much more filling. It's going to make you a lot more satiated. A lot of times when you eat sweets, part of the reason why you start to feel like ravenous, like you just want to keep eating, is because everything is so refined. So this is all really nutrient-dense ingredients. And then we've got some pure vanilla. Make sure you have a really good quality vanilla extract. It's one of those things that you do want to spend just a little bit more money on because the flavor and the quality is so much higher. And the same thing goes for sea salt. So instead of using like a table salt, we're going to use a nice pink Himalayan sea salt. It's going to have much more of those trace minerals, and it's also just flavor-wise going to be a lot nicer balanced with the sweets. So we've got 1/2 teaspoon in here. And I tell you, the salt in this really just kind of balances out the sweetness in such a nice way.
They always get stuck together.
I can never get it open. That was actually so smooth.
Nice work.
And then 1 teaspoon of our vanilla. And we're just going to blend this all together. Food processor is going to do all the work for us.
So just so the viewers have an idea, about how much time did you put preparing all this before it got on the table here?
About 5 minutes.
Perfect.
The walnuts are going to need to soak for an hour, but that's just, that's not your work. You're just going to need to let them soak in the fridge for an hour and then drain them out.
Easy.
Otherwise, you're just going to pit those dates, chop some stuff up, and you're ready to roll. So just like before, we're going to stop every so often, and we're going to just scrape everything down, make sure that it's blending really nice and evenly. And at this stage, you're going to need to stop it pretty often. You'll run it, it'll start to clump up into sort of one ball, and you'll spread it out and just keep moving it around. So you'll hear that. You'll hear that it's kind of getting tight. Just stop that and just move it around. And this whole process will probably take about 5 minutes. And you want it to be forming this nice ball. This is perfect. So let me give you an idea of what this looks like right now. We're about halfway finished. So it's starting to get nice and smooth, but you can see that it's not quite the smoothness of our finished product. So you're just going to keep moving that around and keep blending it. The walnuts are going to keep breaking down and kind of releasing their fats, and it's going to get really nice and creamy. All right, so we're going to just kind of keep doing this process of running it a little bit until we can hear that it's ready to smooth back out.
Are there any problems that would come with over blending, or is there something other than the texture of how it looks that people would be looking for to make sure this is the end point?
Really, it's to the texture that you want. It's a great question. So you might like a little bit more of like a crunchy texture left in the nuts, and that's great. You can actually roll these into balls and do kind of like a little truffle out of them. So you could definitely stop at this stage. It is kind of, you're looking for that texture that really works for you.
Gotcha.
And as far as the food processor, stopping it is really important because you don't want it to overheat. So if you're kind of hearing it struggle, then stop it, scrape down, and keep moving it because you don't want to overheat
You want it to last.
That's right. All right, I think we've got a pretty nice, smooth-looking finish. So you'll see it'll start to sort of form into this nice ball, and that's right when it's kind of perfect. So we're going to scoop all this goodness out into a little glass baking dish. And freezing this is really what's going to kind of form it together into a nice fudge. The oils are going to get really nice and firm, and it's going to have a really great texture. So even if it feels a little bit too sticky right now, it's going to all come together in the end. So just to give you an idea, you'll just kind of press this down and just spread it nice and evenly. If it's a little bit too sticky for you, you can add a little coconut oil to your fingers and just kind of press it down. That's a great tip. All right, so that looks good. What we want is just kind of to smooth it out. You don't have to be too particular, just get it nice and smoothed in here, and then put it in your freezer for about 1 hour. And that's gonna help it just kind of form together and become like a nice fudgy texture. And then once you have your leftovers, keep those in the freezer as well. And this is a version of our finished project.
All right, so excuse me for talking with my mouth full. I couldn't resist. As you can see, a little bit of prep time, but not very much labor at all. Really quick and easy. Trust me, these will disappear at any party that you bring them to. Am I right?
And you're going to feel a lot better after eating them as well. Hope you enjoy them.